Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another totally radical episode of the best darn show on the internet, the Over Sharon Show.
Rad.
Totally rad. Rad in all the sense, in the surfer rad way, and also radical as in we speak of radical ideas. Nothing new, as we all know, there's nothing new under the sun. But just in today's day and age, these ideas
Are radical.
are radical and even maybe a little occulted.
They're not fanatical, I would say. They're just radical.
Occultare. It's occulted. Occultare.
Regular. What are the words he says?
Whoa. Yeah. Regulare.
What's the
Whoa.
what's the one he uses for religion?
Yeah, it's
Religare.
religare.
And what's the one he uses
Whoa.
for? There's another one I always forget. But yeah, that's our
Yeah,
little Mark
there's
Passio
Mark Passio shout out to that.
moment.
I don't even think he usually does like 6 months a year, but I was looking to see if he started going live and he hasn't. If anyone knows, comment or say something in the chat, let us know because I want to start harassing him if he's going to go live again. I'm going to try to call in again. Mark, come on my show. Come on our show, Mark. All right. Yeah, he seems to have no other way to, like, I went on his Instagram. I think he has other people run it for him or something. He said,
Mm. Yeah, that's right. You told me once.
anywho, let's read today's quote.
Anywho, bring it up.
I'm gonna sing if I get on the show. I'm gonna sing that. I'm gonna be like, remember Old Coltare? Old Coltare. All right. Today's quote is things are as they are. Looking out into the universe at night, we make no comparisons between right and wrong stars, nor between well and badly arranged constellations. And that
I
is
love that.
Alan Watts, as I put a little picture of him smoking a pipe here. It reminds me of what Ram Dass said before with the trees. You know, you're walking through the forest and
Yes.
you're not like, oh, that tree's better than that tree. I mean, you might,
Right.
but it's not like you're gonna
But
say,
it's like kind of silly to do that,
yeah, and it's
right?
not like you're gonna be like, oh, this tree doesn't belong in this forest. We should, and like sit there and ridicule the tree because I feel like that's what we do to ourselves. We
And each
ridicule
other.
ourselves because we feel like we are, there's something wrong with us and we don't belong. And what the hell is wrong with us? We don't realize could it be that we're perfect?
Perfect.
Perfect. Could it be?
Perfect as you are. Yeah, I love that. It's very benevolent. I love this view. Um, it's very kind and loving.
Oh, cold
Things are as they
rain.
are. It's another
Whoa.
way to say it
Yeah.
is what it
It
is.
is what it is. Things are as they are. And it's funny. What were we were watching, I think it was a movie or something, and they were talking about this concept. And this guy was like, yeah. He's like, you know what? Somebody told me that the minute that you don't accept what's real, that's when you start suffering. And they're like, really? He's like, yeah, you know who told me that back in the day before she was famous? Like who? He's like, Lady Gaga. It was so funny. I'm like, what? It was just in a movie we were watching, but it was like a Buddhist thing, I was like, whoa, they just like dropped it in there. I
What
was like,
did he say? What was
it
that
might
she
even have
said?
been Bob's Burgers. I think it was Bob's Burgers, maybe.
That's funny.
Yeah, they're like somebody told me once, the minute you don't accept things as they are is when you start suffering, or they said something like that. That's when suffering begins. He's like, you know who told me
Oh,
that? Lady Gaga. I was like, what?
it is indeed very Buddhist.
Yeah, a
Um,
lot of quote unquote famous people. I think that's why they are famous because they embody these ideas, and it doesn't mean they might put whatever they want in their music, or maybe their music is written by somebody else, but they're a conscious creator in the world, and I think that's why they get to the levels where they are, because they don't let that self-doubt drag them down. Really, they're able to act despite that voice in their head that tells them that, oh,
right,
it'll never be, it's too hard, blah blah blah, get a job, it's safer, stuff like that.
right. Oh, good point. Yeah. Um, the other thing I was gonna say is he says, make we make no comparisons between right and wrong stars, nor between well and badly arranged constellations. Like, who are you to say, like, oh, that constellation is wrong. It needs the star to be over here. Why isn't this star over there? Like I don't think I've ever heard anyone say something so silly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I
So,
hear you. People just accept it as beautiful.
yeah. Yeah. And so if you can accept that, can you accept yourself and other people around you? And I'm preaching to myself, y'all.
Yeah, we're always
I
preaching to the choir here on the Oversharon show.
indeed. Wisdom for today from the tarot, the Golden Art Nouveau deck. Got this one here. I am going to see what it is. We got a Knight of Swords. Wow, this is pretty. I mean, these cards are really
All right,
pretty.
I'm gonna pin you and then shut up. Go ahead, you could talk though.
Yeah, you can see that little golden foil, the gold foil on the back, and the pretty horse, the knight in
Oh,
shining
that's
armor. I don't
awesome.
know if he's in shining armor. Yeah, he's in armor. He's got red shoes. He's got red wings on his helmet. What is
Oh,
that? Is that very hermetic?
yeah, red. It connotes a lot of different things. A lot of times, like bravery.
But I'm just
Um,
saying wings on the helmet.
yeah,
Where
well,
those,
yeah, it's like Mercury. You get
yeah,
that,
mercurial. That's what I meant.
yeah,
Sorry, I
like
didn't mean
Thoth,
hermetic.
messenger kind of thing.
Um, you're still singing
Yeah, I've been
Okultari.
singing it all friggin' week. I mean, it's in the store. Yeah, I didn't just come up with it.
So I'm not pinned anymore, right?
Nope. I like how it's only half the horse too, because it shows the front action, and it reminds me of a thing in Dune. There's this saying in Dune. It's like an old desert saying in Dune. The man is looking through a hole in the fence and he sees he sees a donkey go by and he sees the forward part come first and then the back and he's like, oh, it's obvious. He's like, the back causes the forward or whatever. I should look it up, but it's this crazy parable, and I like it
Yeah,
because
he's like pushing with his back legs and his front legs are forward and up,
yeah, so it's
kind
really
of like a
showing that
rear wheel drive truck.
totally, yeah, exactly, totally in the air, right?
Horsepower.
That's 1 horsepower right there. Is that a Clydesdale or a Percheron?
I don't know all the names of the
No,
horses.
those are all draft horses. The Percherons are awesome. Well, Clydesdale is like what's in the Budweiser commercials.
Like the beer, yeah.
But the Percherons are like the same size, but they're gray, and sometimes they're I think it's dappled or whatever. They have these
Mhm.
like round. Oh, they're sick. They look like a storm. Anywho,
Yeah, amazing. There's
it's a
birds
good
in the
horse for standoff.
distance. There's clouds in the distance. And like you were talking about Dune, the actual landscape looks like just dirt. There's trees, but it just looks like dirt or like
Oh
and it
yeah.
could look like sand, like you were saying.
Oh yeah. It looks like dunes, kind of.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the Knight of Swords. I am not fantastically well versed with that card or with that um symbology.
Well, it's all about air communication. One
Yes.
thing I heard recently about air is that you have to remember air could just be empty. That's I suffered from that a lot. I mean, Sharon can attest. I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do all this stuff, and then sometimes I only do some of it. But that's why I think we have to combine the air with fire. That's the action part of it. Like if you think of how fire needs fuel and air, right? So the air is the directive force and it's kind of like it's fuel to some degree, but just like a person needs air to breathe and to live, a fire needs air. So a Knight of Wands though is more about the action part of it, and it really esoterically it represents the highest position in.
This one's swords though, you know that,
Oh,
right?
what did I say? Sorry, swords.
Wands, Knight of Wands.
Knight of Swords, everybody. That's what I meant. Esoterically, it represents the highest position of the masculine. A lot of people look at it that way, like Michael Tessarion, and he says his whole thinking is because it's an action. It's an action
Mhm.
card, and the King of Swords, which most people would say is like the highest of all the of the court cards, it's he's seated normally, and it's a stationary. But seated power is more powerful normally. It just depends on all these nuanced things. But it's more a card of action, and you can see it because
Mm.
he's diving into action. He's actually flying. So it could be a card to look out because sometimes you have these ideas and you're just running around like talking shit really, right? With all these ideas because you haven't really tested them or anything like that. So it's always good to be cautious of that when you have ideas. I think internally, this card could represent the action of some new ideas that you came across and you're really excited about. So you're trying to investigate these ideas and research and just to make sure that they're true and they feel good to you. So I think that's what this card can mean too. It can also represent like a debate, you know?
I resonate with the research of ideas.
Yeah,
So I've
yeah,
been doing a lot of that.
yeah. Inner debate,
And
right?
say that again.
Like an inner debate more of than like debate
Oh,
with other
yeah,
people.
like an inner, um, not so much debate because I don't resonate with debate, but um, gathering of ideas, thoughts, perspectives.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Perspective. It's all what it's about.
absolument.
Cabazon. Um, yeah, so it's a good card. And I mean, I'm sure in some way will relate to what we're talking about today, which is the Tao Te Ching. We're getting to the end of our series. So, um, everybody keep an eye out for us to cover another work, another writing, another book we're going to cover soon. But I forgot what I was going to say. No, I'm just excited because we have two to cover today, and that'll leave us three, right? Three more. So
Yeah. No, no. Wait,
75 and 76. Oh yeah, so four more.
five more, I think.
Five more.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
six,
you're right. I don't know. I was thinking,
11. Yeah.
oh, we're gonna end on
It's
70. No, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, we're going to end on 76. The reason you're thinking that is because when we were messaging, I told you that if we do two more of these DAOs, we only have maybe two or three. No, we have three verses left. That's probably why you thought that.
Oh yeah, that's okay. 75 and 76, which I was born in 76. So
And we just watched an old movie um called, what's it called, Brian?
the Bad News
The,
Bears.
the Bad News Bears. That was when I saw 1976, I'm like, that's when Brandon was born. So we just watched that. I can't believe the kind of movie they were putting out in that year. It's so crazy.
And the way
Like,
kids were then, they were much more mature. Like one of them had a motorcycle or whatever. He's like,
yes, I don't, those kids were little and like, but then the funniest part was he gave them beer at the end and the parents were holding their kids up and the kids had the beer in their hand. I'm just like, really, people?
it was the 70s. Shit was lit. It was all the people from the 60s finally having kids. They're like, oh, yeah, beer, whatever. At least it ain't acid. Like,
That's funny as hell.
yeah, there's a lot of underage drinking in my family. Like, not I mean, my cousins and stuff, because they were all older and the younger siblings were like around my age. So, yeah, they were all. Anyway, I escaped most of that. So, but I was born in 76. It was crazy, guys. But,
But you did
that's,
help your cousins or somebody separate out.
yeah. Yeah, break up
What?
weed allegedly.
Yeah.
They're probably all dead now, so it's fine. Those guys. Yeah, they were some good times. That's why people were like, "Oh, it's so terrible now." It's like, it's the worst time ever. And I'm like, guys, it's always been crazy. Like it's always been the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the Chicken Little thing comes in. Like the sky's falling, the sky's always
Mm-hmm.
been falling
Yeah.
until it does for real one day. Until then,
Maybe, maybe not.
maybe, yeah, right. Maybe, I mean,
Maybe
Not,
this goes on forever and ever and ever.
I'm not attached to anything yet. Maybe we wake up
Right.
tomorrow and we're just going to keep living this day over like it's Groundhog's Day. I mean, Groundhog's Day is coming up soon, right?
Oh yeah, that's true. Little groundhogs.
Wait, when this might come out near ground. What's this? The Groundhog?
Oh yeah, that's the thing. We were recording.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're pre-recording now. What day?
Yeah.
When does ground? I was gonna say when does Groundhog's Day come out?
When does it happen?
Yes,
When is?
because this will probably come out on February 6th.
Oh, you think so?
Because this week is the
That
30th.
oh,
Oh, unless we do
that's
some another live or whatever.
yeah. That's what I
Oh,
was
okay. Don't worry, everybody. We don't
wondering.
whatever day it is. It's that day. It is what it is. Things.
So Groundhog's Day may have already happened.
Yeah,
Maybe.
we might just be repeating this all over again. It's another. Where's Bill Murray when you need him? All
Yeah.
right.
It might
Oh,
feel like deja vu or
all over again.
Groundhog's Day all over again.
Yogi Berra.
Yeah. Should I have the guided tarot. Should
Oh
I just
yeah,
read from the Knight of Swords real quick?
sure.
Upright key meanings are truth seeking, which you kind of mentioned, right?
Yeah.
And assertiveness. And reversed key meanings are pushy and aggressive.
Mm.
Elemental combination says air and air. Air signifies the knight's connection to communication and wisdom, and his place in the suit of swords also connects to air, which gives this knight a double dose of clear insight and swift speech. And I believe I'm a double air, right? Is Gemini an air sign?
Yeah, I think so.
So Libra, Gemini, Moon, Libra, Sun, Gemini, Moon, some kind of I'm like a double air.
Uh,
Yeah. Um,
Interesting. I'm all over
yeah.
the place myself. I'm like a water, earth, air.
You're all over the place.
I don't have a lot of fire though. I got to create it myself, I guess. That's why I got a woman who's all fire.
I'm a fire, I'm a Leo rising, so that's the fire part.
Oh yeah, that's fire. I got some Leo in my chart though. I do have some fire. Fire. Cool. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's why you got to be worried. That's like what we talk about with the pushiness with these ideas. So when you're out there trying to convince everybody that we didn't go to the moon on Thanksgiving or whatever, that's the Knight of Swords reversed.
Yeah.
And they're all like, "How dare you ruin my Thanksgiving? I worked so hard on it all night and day, and you come in here and in five
And you
minutes you ruin it with your talk of we didn't go to the moon." maybe we did. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, that's what I think it is. Whereas if you're looking at it in the proper usage, you're just exploring those ideas inside, and you realize that maybe if there is some kind of conspiracy hanging around, the reason you can see it is because you're not attached to certain ideas about I don't know this country or whatever. So and again, this
yeah,
is something we probably talked about last week because we're gonna the
or the
magic
week before.
or the week before, a couple weeks ago, we're gonna do an episode. We have done an episode about putting people on a pedestal, and that's something we're gonna talk about a lot. So I don't have to talk about it, I guess, a lot here, but to reiterate on those ideas, I think that's where when we go wrong. I forget what I was gonna say. It'll come back, but anywho, Knight of Swords, great card.
Um, I just had a thought. I don't want to forget it. But you may have already heard it because we're probably going to talk about it have already talked about it on the episode for putting people on a pedestal. But I think it's not even just people, but ideas and attachment. So attachment to an idea is the putting the idea on a pedestal,
Yeah, 100%.
right? Um, so like you're talking about, telling people on Thanksgiving about
JFK
we didn't go to the moon.
or whatever. Yeah.
And I like when I look at attachments to like let's say conspiracy theories, for example. Um,
That's what I was gonna
the
say.
absolute
Keep
okay, go
going. Keep
ahead, you
going.
go.
No, keep
No, no,
going.
no.
I was just gonna say that the conspiracy thing is another attachment as well, because we really don't know how this works. Like the fact that,
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
the 11th day of September in the year of 2001 is 222 months away from the third month in 2020 of the 11th day, which is the day that the country was shut down. It's like, well, did they plan that? I mean, I don't know, but maybe it's just the way this realm works. And I know I've said this a bunch of times, but that's why I could see both sides, because we have friends that are like against conspiracies and we have friends that are into them. And I think it's somewhere in the middle. And I've heard people say this before who I feel have done work and know a lot. And they're kind of like, if you knew the truth, it's probably scarier than anything you can imagine, because most of this probably really is just running off of itself, like there really is no one in charge. I was thinking about that. Like, there's a president comes in and, maybe there's like people behind the scenes and all this stuff. I'm not going to discount that, but
But like Ellen Watts says, it is what it is.
Yeah, that too. It is what it is, and we really can't do much about it other than affect how we
Work on
feel.
ourselves.
Right? We can affect how we feel about it. Like, am I a victim? Because it's like either side is a trap, I feel, to get
Exactly.
you. Because it could
Exactly.
be, what if we live in a realm where for me they didn't go to the moon, but for somebody else they really did, like
parallel
wouldn't that be
universes.
nuts?
Yeah.
And think about it, like, what a better way, sorry to cut you off, but what a better, because we always talk about how this is expert level, and all of this resistance we're encountering is actually good for us because it can help us work. What a better way to create more resistance than have people be able to interact with each other that are in different realities, though, and what is even a reality? Because we talk about how it's just all energy anyway. You got the observer effect all the time. When you look away, the photons turn off of light. There's like literally nothing there, but when you look, then they turn on. So who really knows? So the person you're interacting with, maybe they're in a reality where all this stuff really happened that way. In your reality, it didn't. So you're like, oh, that might even just be a metaphor for worldviews, right? Maybe that's all it is, but maybe perhaps they are. And since we don't know that for sure, because God works in mysterious ways, I think it's better to just assume that it's a mystery and we have no idea and we're not victims, right? That's like basic message.
And that's the non-attachment. That's the non-attachment, because if you're like, no, we did go to the moon, and someone else is like, no, we didn't. And it's like both of you are already stating a claim, right? Do you know? Were you there? Do you have evidence? Do you have evidence that that thing is a solid object, you can stand on it and all that? Do you have evidence? Like, have you stood on it yourself? Have you been there? No. So how do you know? Right. And so, I mean, in that way, I think in some ways, the people who don't think it's a physical object are a little bit more almost there. You know what I mean? But at the same time, they might be attached to that too. So there's letting go for both of those. You know what I mean? So where you can just be like, I don't freaking know what this stupid thing is. I don't freaking know. And so just,
because would you rather,
why argue about it?
Exactly. Wouldn't you rather just enjoy delicious turkey and stuffing and sweet potatoes at Thanksgiving?
You take a P900 or P1000 that are allegedly banned now because people were taking such fantastic photos of the moon.
Well, yeah, they stopped making them, I think, right?
Yeah.
They changed it.
They stopped making the zoom or whatever that for the ability for that, so that lay people don't have that.
They couldn't handle the technology. That's what it was. They went crazy.
Yeah. So you can
and if you think about it,
crisp images of, this thing that we don't know what it is. And you scooch over and you look at a star, right? And it just looks like, what do they call that water? When something's in water and it's like a little implosion or something, and it like creates light, cavitation.
Oh yeah, cavitation.
cavitation in
Yeah.
water of some, I forgot what, but it's something like that. Pardon my inability to speak well about it, but
Pardon français.
um, that is what stars actually look like when you zoom into them. They don't look like these crazy, like ridiculously. They don't look like the moon. Like when you zoom into the moon, you see like all the little intricacies, but that doesn't happen when you zoom in with a P1000 or P900 into a
A star,
star.
yeah, it just looks like dancing energy. It's nothing
Yeah,
like
it just
whatever.
looks like it's just like it looks blurry, and but it looks like it's kind of like it looks like some like the cavitation object in water, like a water bubble with a light, because it's under so much pressure or something like that. Anyway,
Yeah, it's not the images that were shown are images are created. They're not pictures. So you got to be very careful because when you look at an actual picture of even a planet or luminary or whatever, even the planets don't look how they tell us. So like Saturn, have you ever seen Saturn through a uh,
P900
or
camera,
through a telescope? It looks like
blurry.
a shining cutout. Like that you get those like it's like graffiti but bigger and it says like congratulations or whatever and it's just like cut metal or whatever foil. It looks like a little planet with a ring around it cut like but that's like shining like a I don't know in the sky. It's so crazy. It looks flat. Like it's nuts. I was like that's I remember the first time it was probably like in 20 the early mid 2000s or something but yeah or late 2010s. Anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, wouldn't you rather just enjoy your Thanksgiving your meal because that's why I think maybe that's why they're even getting rid of that camera or they stopped selling it because technically people can't really handle the technology because it's like here we're going to give you this secret it's only for you to know so I think if not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with doing research and putting up research and like saying what is this really I feel like if that's what you're felt called to do then you should do it but I'm talking about like arguing at Thanksgiving and stuff right if that's and again, you could whatever argue if you want. I'm not saying we're not judging you, but um the technology, I feel like people weren't ready for it because they're looking in and they're seeing not what they've been told. They're like, wait, this isn't what I've been told these things are. And then they're just freaking the fuck out, right? Which I get it because I freaked the fuck out when I saw it too. And they're freaking out and they can't
They
be
can't handle the they
a
can't handle the
normal,
truth.
yeah, and they can't be like a productive member of our society and that's fine. I'm not even saying I'm a productive man, but but from society standpoint, I mean, they're no longer like productive because they're going around trying to wake everybody else up, right? So it's kind of like they're almost like a virus to the way things are, to the status quo, to
System.
society, to the system, right? Like the Matrix, like Neo. Um, so we always think it's our job to go around and wake people up, but maybe that isn't the task at hand because a lot of people don't
Maybe
want
that's not your job, sweetheart.
to. Yeah. Anyway, that was a fun
Sorry for the side rant,
diatribe
but
or oversharing. All right. You guys probably heard more of it a couple weeks ago, so it's just a little refresher for you. It's because we're radical, totally radical. All right. Speaking of radical, let's talk about this radical book, the Tao. What do you think? All right, so
yeah.
if you're new, everybody, welcome. And we read four different versions of each verse, and then we go through and break them down. So it looks like verse 75 is kind of short. So we got it all on one page today, or Sharon did. Great job, Sharon. So I'm going to
Thank
start.
you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm going to start by reading the Stephen Mitchell version from 1988. When taxes are too high, people go hungry. When the government is too intrusive, people lose their spirit. Act for the people's benefit. Trust them, leave them alone.
Mm. Dwight Goddard from 1919. Loss by greediness. Starvation of a people comes when an official appropriates to himself too much of the taxes. The reason a people are difficult to govern is because the officials are too meddlesome. The people make light of death because they are so absorbed in life's interests. The one
Uh-huh.
who is not absorbed in life is more moral than he who esteems life. Hmm. That one's going to have to be fun to break down. I mean, it will be fun to break down.
Exactly. All right. Injuring through greed. When taxes are too heavy, hunger lays the people low. When those who govern interfere too much, the people become rebellious. When those who govern demand too much of people's lives, death is taken lightly. When the people are starving in the land, life is of little value, and so is more easily sacrificed by them in overthrowing government. That's interesting. And that was the Stan Rosenthal version, everybody. I didn't say it at the beginning.
Well, Aleister Crowley is very
Whoa.
curt, very short. All right, verse 75 of Aleister Crowley from 1918. The injury of greed. And all three mention the word greed. So there you go. In such a state of insecurity, it is better to ignore the question of living than to set store by it.
Okay, Alistair. Interesting. So short and sweet. So I guess it is pretty good that we overshared a little in the beginning. Give you guys a robust episode. This is cool though, because they're talking about taxes, so more government stuff. Um, all right, I guess we could just get right into it. Okay. All right. So the Stephen Mitchell version from 88. When taxes are too high, people go hungry. That makes sense. You know, people have to spend all their money on taxes. I think it's kind of what we're seeing now. Prices are super high. Feel like they're gonna start coming down. That's what we've been promised, but we'll see. And when the government is too intrusive, people lose their spirit. You know, you see that a lot. People become kind of like slaves, right? They just get beat down. And then so they'll tell you, act for the people's benefit, trust them, leave them alone. Now, everyone's going to equate this to government, right? Because it says taxes.
Mm-hmm.
But we always look at things esoterically. So how could this,
Apply to
pertain
you.
internally?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this could be about judgment, because judgment can be a tax on your brain. You know, it could be a tax on your well-being. It could be
Taxing. Ooh, I like that.
very taxing. So when you're judging yourself, especially spiritually, you're going to go hungry because you're so worried, right? But
Mhm.
when you're too intrusive on your own life, like when you're too when you're
It's a
being
stress.
yeah, when you're judging yourself way too much, I guess you could say,
Oh, good call.
because
Yeah.
you're being intrusive. it,
Mm-hmm.
it could be very stressful. And we've talked about this before, how it only will perpetuate these cycles that we're in, cycles of trauma. Things happen, then we want to engage in escapism to escape. And then we do. And then after the escapism, we kind of have, wake up and like, oh man, why did I do that? And then it just leads us, it's like this vicious cycle. So if you are able to get out of that judgment slowly but surely, or hey, maybe even
Hit your
overnight,
rock bottom.
you hit the rock bottom. And then I'll bring this back up because the last verse pertains exactly. It's kind of like the remedy to the situation, which I like about the Tao. So it's act for the people's benefit,
Act
trust
for
them.
your benefit.
Yes, act for your own benefit, but also trust yourself and
Mm-hmm.
leave yourself alone, which means stop overthinking so much. Stop being
Stop
like,
blaming. Stop, like, be more
yeah,
forgiving, be more kind of yourself.
yeah, we're not just in there's again, there's stages to this, because you can look at this as enabling and stuff, right? You could be like, oh, this is my enabler or whatever that allows me to engage in my escapism. This is my cognitive dissonance, where I'm just like, no, it's okay, I'm just being easy on myself. I can do that. Where it's very nuanced.
It is
So,
very nuanced.
right.
Exactly.
And I guess if you're doing that, and it's like Ram Dass says, you have to do it until you're done, until you hit that rock bottom and you really don't want to do it anymore. And I think that's what they're talking about. And that means different things to all different people. So again, we're not giving anyone a license to go out and do terrible and heinous things. All we're saying is don't judge yourself, and the journey starts to be a little easier. Could it be? Trust yourself. And I feel like that's what he's saying here also, but he's also talking to a future leader too. Like, trust the people. All right.
Yeah, I like that. I thought of, so yesterday we were watching an old MacGyver episode. I think it was
Yeah.
like episode 2 of season 1.
Yeah.
Because Cody wanted to like kind of reminisce about, he's like, I remember watching these when I was a kid, but like I don't remember details. So like, and he says like there's so many seasons too and so many episodes. So like he's like, I don't know which ones I watched. So anyway, but the second episode, these people in like some Asian country are being forced to like they're enslaved, I guess, by this narc guy who's trying to get them to work the opium and stuff and like
Yeah.
write all that. And so these people are, losing their spirit and all that. So it just reminded me of that.
Yeah, MacGyver was like one of my favorite shows. I love that show. I still make references. And a great thing about that is if you keep watching it and you get to the episode where there's a kid and a helicopter, I'm not going to say anymore, but that kid I probably told you before, he's been on my podcast as an adult
Oh,
because I know him. Yeah, he was
what's
a
his name?
child actor, Kevin Dolan.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, he
Oh,
was a child actor. And then he was doing comedy in the area. He's a really funny guy.
nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Shout out to Kevin Dolan if he's out there still. I'm sure he is. Hope he's still doing comedy. He's funny. Let's see. La la la. Oh yeah, and you can go
Dwight.
back on the Brandon Bonanza channel and search through the old
Oh,
episodes, and you could probably find that one. So you can hear him.
unless you
There's
want to link it
spoilers
be
though.
you want to link it below or something.
Yeah, I have to look for it. There's spoilers in that episode, everybody. So if you're
Oh,
a MacGyver fan,
what's his name again?
Kevin Dolan.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have 1 degree of separation from MacGyver from Richard Dean Anderson, right? That's his name.
Oh, I didn't even know his name. Okay.
Yeah, because that guy was in Stargate too, a bunch of stuff. So
Oh, the MacGyver guy?
yeah, MacGyver.
I think Cody told me that.
Yep. So you
The
could tell.
movie or the show?
I think the show.
Okay, okay. We watched the movie the other day, which I had probably watched eons ago.
Yeah.
And but yeah, we watched it again recently.
I never got into it too much, not because I just never had a chance or whatever. Like I was always into Star
Yeah.
Trek and all that stuff, and
I
um,
think like my coworkers would watch it, but back in those days I wasn't watching a lot of stuff, so I didn't I didn't get to watch it either, but it'd be interesting to check it. I've been thinking about checking it out actually,
oh, I'm
the
sure there's a
show.
lot of good stuff in there.
I'm sure because there was interesting stuff in the movie, the Stargate movie.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Hollywood and people, however it works, maybe it's even just channeling, but man, they sometimes you're like, do they even know what they're saying in these fucking?
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, it's all on how you watch the program and if you're identifying with the characters and all that stuff, because it could be terrible escapism also. But that's
Yeah.
fine. Sometimes you need it. Sometimes you need, to watch people who are in a certain situation similar to yours and it makes you feel better. So
Mm-hmm.
I have a Stargate in
Oh,
my bag. We don't have a Stargate, but we got a pyramid scheme.
best pyramid scheme ever.
That's right. And the funny thing is that like if you because I'm a giant, it's actually taller than me, but because of the perspective. Look, I'm going to show you guys a little bit about perspective and worldviews. Watch this. See, it looks like it's lower than me, right? But it's actually. And then I come
Yeah,
higher,
that's
and I
how
come close,
perspective
and
works.
now it looks like it's on my shoulder height, but it's actually like above my head. Crazy, right?
The sun does set. Could it be?
La la la. I don't even know what you're referring to. How
Oh,
dare you?
okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I do. How dare you? This is a nice Christian channel. Look at me. I look like I died for your sins. We're not going to be talking about flat Earth today. No. Anyway, I meant fat girth. I didn't mean I was talking about
Yeah.
Garfield. All right.
PHAT.
Yeah, pretty hot and tempting. Remember
Yeah. See?
that? All
See?
right. Oh, it's fat girth, everybody.
In the Bible.
Fat girth. You guys believe in fat girth? You guys are
That
flat girthers? I don't know. There can't be any girth if it's flat. I'm a non-girther. All right. I'm gonna play with that idea later.
okay.
We'll let you go
Dwight Goddard from 1919, verse 75. Loss by greediness. Starvation of a people comes when an official appropriates to himself too much of the taxes. The reason a people are difficult to govern is because the officials are too meddlesome. The people might, sorry, I keep wanting to say might right there. The people make, because it's make and light. So I think
yeah,
might.
I do that.
The people make light of death because they are so absorbed in life's interests. The one who is not absorbed in life is more moral than he who esteems life. Okay, so I'm going to start with the beginning there. The starvation of the people comes when an official appropriates to himself too much of the taxes. So something I thought of, you can exit out for now. Something I thought of as we were reading this is, people are saying like, oh, the prices are high. And I mean, even I see that like a lot has gone up since 2020. I mean, it was going steadily up before then, but like 2020 made everything
Yeah,
ridiculously
it was like
more.
it was going like this, and then it was like,
Yeah, yeah, it became ridiculous. But here's the thing. People are still doing stuff. Like people still go out to eat, even though it's more expensive. People
it's
still go
insane.
out and buy ridiculous things. I'm
It's
like,
like $25 like the minimum for an entree these days, and that's like a low.
yeah,
That's like a
yeah, yeah,
it's like the pasta. Like
right. And it's like, but people are still doing, like if people didn't do it, then they would have to bring the prices down, but people still do it. Right. And we do too. Like we go out sometimes um and so my thoughts too are, how have you ever heard of that concept? I'm sure you have, of like, I think what's his name said it before, Archaic Sky. He's Jason Brashears. He said that like you get money by spending money, right? It's like the concept of like you manifest because it's like your concept or your idea of like I have enough, so I'm going to use this and I'm going to get what I want or what I like or what I need, and I'm going to have. I'm not worried. So it's like a mentality of not being worried about it.
I will be
So
provided for.
yeah, and that in itself propagates that you're being provided for. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's kind of interesting. I thought of that when I was reading about this. Then prices and taxes and stuff are high. Um, but anyway, that was just a side thought.
Well, I feel like that's a great thought because that's kind of a key to a way through these times
Mm-hmm.
when prices and taxes are high is to not worry about it and get wrapped up in it. I guess you would say, right? Like as
Yeah,
you're not coming from a place of lack. You're like, all right, I might not have a lot of money or whatever, but I'm still gonna use it to get what I need because
I'll still be provided
I'll
for.
be provided for. Yeah. Yep. Speaking of
Okay.
being provided for, guys, you can go to morelawsmoreproblems.com to make donations. Just a funny commercial there, everybody. We love you. Click on the Oversharing tab for more. That's our little commercial. If you want to get more of us, that's the website. A thing that I thought of too, I'm going to bring this back up unless might be skipping a little. No, I like that for sure because that's I feel like the way through is feeling that way. And what I was reminded of really is kind of this whole part about death. People make light of death. It reminds me of how people, the reason a people are difficult to govern is because the officials are too meddlesome. So that kind of reminds me of this last verse, right? And we could see that. But people make light of death because they're so absorbed in life's interests. And that reminds me kind of this Louis C.K. joke where he said he saw somebody coming into New York that was like their first time in New York was like he was at the train station and he saw like a reunion or somebody was meeting someone at the train station and it was like a teenage girl or whatever. And she comes in and she's from like, Texas or the Midwest and she sees a homeless man and she's like, oh my God. She's like, sir, are you okay? And she goes over and she's like, can somebody help this man? But everyone else is just like stepping over him and just ignoring him. And I feel like that's kind of where a lot of our society is at least in the cities. And maybe that's just always how it's been in cities. But I feel like that's what they're talking about. People just make light of death. In some cities or in some countries, there's just dead bodies laying around in the gutters. So maybe we're not quite at that point, but I feel like we have this instead of having, like it's better, I think, to not fear death, but we don't really have that as a prominent pillar in the society, not fearing death. It's more of an ignoring of it, just kind of sweeping it under the rug. Those people
because you're so distracted.
Yeah, I gotta go throughout my life and do my own needs. And I've walked by plenty of homeless people. What are you gonna do? That's
you
a
can't help
discussion
every
for
single
another
one of them, right?
podcast. Yeah, but
And if you're helping them, are you truly helping them? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Some people
Like,
feel called to. It's good, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's like it's
But I think
nuanced.
yeah, it is nuanced. I think the one thing we could do is just to see them and look at them for and not ignore them. Not that you have to like go talk to them or whatever, but just to look at them and feel
And
whatever that
maybe
makes you
smile and
feel.
wave or something.
Or yeah, or you don't even really have to acknowledge that you looked at them, but instead of, you can even glance at them and instead of trying to say, oh, whatever, I'm going to think about the next thing, whatever feeling comes, if it's sorrow or
Let it
whatever,
happen. Yeah.
let it happen and feel it, right? And that I think is a service you could do for them because you're going to witness them, you're going to see them, and you're going to acknowledge them, and then you could even go further with that. You could let it go, and you could see how it's all part of God's plan and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
And they too are a child of God, just like you,
Yeah, could it be?
because we all are. Could it be?
That's right.
Um, yeah. And then, so the last bit that says, the one who is not absorbed in life is more moral than he who esteems life. And I'm trying to kind of grasp what that means here. Um, like in the sense of like materialism, maybe, or this 3D realm and being attached to this 3D realm.
Yeah, I think it does have to do with attachment. And what's esteem? Want to look that up?
Oh,
Maybe.
to think highly of,
Okay,
or
yeah. I mean,
um,
I had a general idea of what it meant, but that thank you for that
yeah,
definition.
like self-esteem is to, right,
Yeah.
um, thinking of yourself highly or favorably. So esteem means to regard highly or favorably, to regard with respect or admiration.
So maybe they're referring to ego there, like the person who esteems life is less moral as in like they're egoic because they're attached.
No,
No.
is more moral. Oh yeah, sorry, the one who is sorry. Yes, sorry. Yes, you're right. Is less moral because it's.
No worries. We're
I
just
always get mixed up with the knots and the.
yeah, the nors and the well, listen, it's you speak two languages fluently, so in Spanish is totally different. They put all the things on the other side. They put all the adjectives on the other side of the noun, usually in Spain and all them countries.
Yeah.
Where are your adjectives? Oh, they're on the other side of the noun. You got to look on that side. That's some grammatical humor for you, everybody.
Yeah.
All right.
And then it depends too, because sometimes it can go the other way, but there's a reason for it. There's like a grammatical reason for it.
Yeah. Oh, did my mouse just die? My mouse is dead. That's all right. I can use my Trizak Pizzad.
You have your trackpad?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you need a battery or you just need to plug it in? Plug it in, plug
Yeah, no,
it
I
in.
just have to plug it in. I don't have it's a US it's it's not a C. What's it, a B or whatever, so I don't
Oh, okay.
think I have one in here. It's not a big deal though. All right, so let's get back to this Dow.
Yeah.
I guess we could
So yeah, that
break.
last bit was about like not being attached to this 3D thing.
Love it. All
But
right.
I wonder why he says moral.
Is more moral. Well, I think if you're looking at morality, maybe it's like a balance, if you think of um our intuition, if you kind of attach it to morality in that way, because you have this inner sense of like right and wrong. And I think that maybe that's what he's talking about. You're more in tune. Not that one person possesses a better sense of right and wrong than anyone else. I think people just can tune in better to it, or, have a clearer picture of what their feelings are telling them. Or even some people are able to, some people can engage in escapism and kind of bury that moral voice more. It's another way they do it. Whereas a lot of people who have done self work and stuff, it's harder for them to do that. And if you do more
To
self
do the
work,
escapism, you mean?
yeah, you're less egoic and stuff. Yeah, I feel like it's and I don't know because I've only ever been me from what I can remember. But my experience of the intuition
This
is it's
lifetime.
this feeling. It's like a metal detector, like, but it's not noise wise. Metal detector is like, like it goes,
That's good.
I could just do this all day, but it's like that. You get this feeling, oh, I don't know if I should be lying or about this or if I should be engaging this behavior.
Mm.
But if you're not so in tune with that, you're going to be able to cover it up and bury it through escapism. You have these. So when you're doing whatever it is, it makes you feel shitty, but then you go out and engage in your escapism and you're up really high. And that's another thing they talk about in the Tao with the ups and the downs. Like if you want to have the peaks, you got to have the valleys. So, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
All righty.
Okay.
Let's bring it back. So I think we're good with that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Stan Rosenthal being his nice wordy self. Injuring through greed. I like that. It's injury instead of a loss over here. So
Mm-hmm.
when taxes are too heavy, hunger lays the people low. So it's pretty much the same thing in the first three verses we've covered. So when those who govern interfere too much, the people become rebellious. So here it's turning a little different because the other ones, Dwight says difficult to govern. Stephen Mitchell says lose their spirit. And now Stan Rosenthal's talking about rebellion. And this, if you think about it, it's really crazy because everybody like wants to rebel and have a revolution and it's great. But here he's saying how it's like an imbalance. And if you compare it to the other verses, a rebellion is like a loss of spirit. People lost their spirit and their belief, in what's going on and they want something new. And obviously they're difficult to govern if they're going to be rebellious. So, but I like that. It's another example of how when you use how we use these four verses to compare, you can pick up more meaning to things. And not even just in the Tao, but a rebellion, you can get a better idea. It's like, well, why are these people rebelling? Did they lose
A
their spirit?
revolution.
But do they have to like overthrow the government though to get back their good feeling and to raise their spirit? Because that's how they feel, because they feel like they have to do it in the physical. We have to go out and do it. Or is it possible that you can go inward and do the work and then you can fix your spirit or whatever again and realize that, rebellion probably isn't the answer? Because especially like people always say like, oh, there's going to be a civil war in this country. And I hope I remember to bring this up tomorrow, which would have been a live episode for you guys a couple weeks ago, which is, everyone says, or not everyone, but people are like, oh, there's going to be a civil war. And I'm like, there's not going to be a civil war. Like people can't even skip lunch. So I'm not really worried about a civil war. So instead of going and having a civil war, make yourself a nice lunch and go inside and do the work. That's what I say. Right?
Oh,
Just make sure it's gluten free. I was thinking about that this morning as I woke up for some. Oh, because I said gluten morning. Gluten. It's just like glutton, right? It's like one little noise away and it's spelt the same. What a great mind spell! Because everybody wants to be gluten free. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get on that train.
nice.
Anyway,
Good call.
just breaking down these word spells. I mean, I'm sure someone else has figured that one out.
I haven't heard it yet.
Oh, maybe not. When those who govern demand too much of people's lives, death is taken lightly. So I think it's just kind of a different way to say what we've been saying in the Dwight Goddard verse. Uh,
Yes.
when the people are starving in the land, life is of little value. So it's the same thing I was talking about with the homeless people and all that stuff. Now, again, life is pretty highly valued here. It's probably pretty hard to get away with murder, but I mean, if you could probably kill a bum pretty easily, and get away with it. So it's good because you could see all parts of it in this one little country, this one experiment, if you will,
Mhm.
of liberty. You get little pockets and pools of different types of behavior and culture and society, right? And
Mhm.
it's highlighted here pretty well in the Tao, and it makes sense because in cities you do have to pay more taxes and more fees, and there's all these charges for extra things that you have to do if you're in a city. So I think it lines up pretty well.
Allegedly, liberty is not the same thing as freedom.
Yeah, yeah.
But
For oh, go ahead.
something that you read made me think of last commentary on the Tao, because the previous verse taught, because it said, when those who govern demand too much of people's lives, death is taken lightly. It reminded me of death in verse 74, where the people aren't afraid of death. They have no fear of threats of death.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. I
Yeah.
think I was thinking that when I was reading. I was like, oh, it sounds like something we talked about.
So, like, that could also be kind of good, because then they're just like, all right, what are you going to do? Kill me?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's the thing, but it is good, right? It could be
Yeah.
good,
But
but the
it's nuanced
yeah, totally nuanced in
because of the ignorance.
ignorance of the old Tare.
Oh God.
I was singing that in a store.
I
Yeah, I
didn't
don't.
know it was a song. Did you just make it up?
Volare.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Whoa, yeah,
Cantare.
yeah. No, I didn't.
Gypsy Kings.
I'm
That's
just
why you're saying "Oh Cool Tare" with the Volare song.
yeah, yeah.
Gypsy King.
Or Dean Martin. How dare you? How dare you, Sharon? It's
Oh,
Dean
Dean
Martin.
Martin sang it.
It's Dino. What do you mean? What are you talking about? Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's funny. I thought of a Gypsy King.
Oh yeah, that's probably they probably originally did it, right? I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I
Who
don't know
knows who did
who's.
it originally? I think some of these songs, like I play some of these songs at weddings and stuff, and I'm like, I bet these songs have been around for just hundreds of years, Because because
They
Johnny
got
Cash.
channeled by someone else.
Well, I think like especially Johnny Cash, a lot of his stuff was just um remakes of old Western stuff. And I think that kind of happens a lot, and we just don't realize that things just change. But those older, not I mean, not like newer songs, like Just Dance. It's a Lady Gaga theme today, everybody. Anywho, uh, yeah. So I forgot what I was talking about. Oh yeah, Okoltare.
Oh,
Volare.
like the death tape being taken lightly is nuanced.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You
So
can be
because it could
taking
be
it
like
lightly.
it could be like a suicidal thing or like a suicide
Yeah.
bomber, or think of even like it's funny because they're using this tactic in the Tao of people being rebellious and in a crazy state, and they're saying that, when they get to this state, they don't fear death or whatever. And then if you think about the war propaganda that we've had, like in World War II, they're talking about these kamikaze, these crazy Japanese kamikaze pilots, right? I bet if there was YouTube in like the 40s, you probably couldn't say kamikaze on YouTube. Then you'd be like, "How dare you? That's racist." But anyway, and then you have the suicide bombers, right? For the terrorists, the war on terror, and these suicide bombers, they're just crazy, right? It's the same kind of thing. It's like, yeah, that's what happens, and it's not they lose their fear of death because their life is so terrible. They perceive it as so terrible and they get talked into it, whatever, that death for them would be better. So it's
That's
like a
sad.
reverse, right?
Hmm.
Whereas
Yeah.
we talk
It's
about
the other
losing,
extreme,
yeah. Whereas we talk about losing your fear of death, it's more of like
a
you know,
blissful type of experience.
yeah,
Like it,
you realize it's the next step. There's nothing to fear. It's just like logically, it's the next step. It's like, well, I don't want to take that. It's not like
right,
I'm looking forward to taking that step or planning it or whatever. But
right.
yeah, it's more of like, all right, it's going to happen, and I can't plan it. It's just going to happen. What am I going to do?
When
It's
it
more of
happens.
that.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
in, and the other view is just like, this is terrible. I got to just strap a bomb to myself and run into a
Yeah.
cafe because,
Yeah. Exactly.
Anyway, all right.
As little as this verse is, we were taking our time.
Yeah, right. When the people are okay, so we talked about that. Uh, little value, and so is more easily sacrificed by them in overthrowing the government. Yeah, same, exactly. So they
Mm.
don't care anymore. They're just going to become rebels.
Yes. Yes.
Look at this little verse over here. That's
Well,
so crazy.
Aleister Crowley's short little verse um is entitled "The Injury of Greed," and that's very similar to Stan's "Injuring Through Greed." And it says, in such a state of insecurity, it is better to ignore ignorance. I'm just kidding. It is better to ignore the question of living than to set store by it. And I looked up set store because it's an idiom and it means to have faith, confidence, or belief in something or someone. So it is better to ignore the question of living than to have faith or belief in the question of living
I love it.
or have confidence. Hmm. Help.
All right. So I think what he's trying to say here, kind of, basically is ignore the question of living, because everybody's like, what's the meaning of life? And they kind of
Right.
get wrapped up and attached and worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's saying it's better to kind of ignore that and just experience life, live in the moment, and take it as it is, instead of setting store by it, right? Instead of this whole view of what can life be, because that could drive you crazy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's a mystery. It's like he's basically saying that you can't solve a mystery. It's better to try not to solve the mystery and just accept it as a mystery.
Okay. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Again, uh, yeah, the mystery. Like, what do you know? Do you know? Were you there? Can you prove it?
Do you know where you're going to? Yeah, can you prove it? And it's like they say you can lead
And
a.
if you could, why do you need to tell other people?
It's like they say you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Yeah.
Even if you could make it drink, though, why would you want to make a horse? Why would you want a horse that you'd have to make drink? Just let the horse die of thirst.
Decide on its own when it's going to drink water. Geez, it
I
knows
mean,
when it's thirsty.
if the horse doesn't want to drink, well, there's nothing you can do for it. Could it be? Anyway,
Yeah.
uh, these horses don't drink. That's what we could say from now on. Like, we come across people who aren't really open minded, like these horses don't drink. We got some thirsty
Alcohol.
horses. Yeah, alcohol. Yeah, they need alcohol now. All right.
Mm.
Let's get into the next verse, shall we?
Yes.
76ers, which is 13.
Your year.
Yes, could it be? It's the death year. I don't know.
Oh, 13.
All right. So we're going to go through and read these, everybody. Stephen Mitchell from
Oh,
night.
and oh well, you know what?
Oh, go ahead.
It's a belated happy Chinese New Year, you guys, year of the
Oh,
snake.
yeah.
Because January 29th is which now you can tell when we recorded this, but is the year of the snake. So there you go. Sorry I interrupted you.
Oh, I love it. You can always interrupt me with Chinese astrology. I love it. Snakes, good stuff. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Men are born soft and supple, dead they are stiff and hard. Plants are born tender and pliant, dead they are brittle and dry. Thus, whoever is stiff and inflexible is a disciple of death. Whoever is soft and yielding is a disciple of life. The hard
Mm.
and stiff will be broken, the soft and supple will prevail.
Ooh, I like that. I'm gonna have fun with that one.
Mm.
All right, Dwight Goddard, 1919. Beware of strength. When a man is living, he is tender and fragile. When he dies, he is hard and stiff. It is the same with everything. The grass and trees in life are tender and delicate, but when they die, they become rigid and dry. Therefore, those who are hard and stiff belong to death's domain, while the tender and weak belong to the realm of life. Therefore, soldiers are most invincible when they will not conquer. When a tree is grown to its great strength, it is doomed. The strong and the great stay below. The tender and weak rise above. That is going to be interesting to break down.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I don't even want to say anything. Okay.
I know. I'm excited.
Oh, my mouse didn't die. I forgot there's a button on there because it's
Oh,
Bluetooth and you could push it because you could program it for two different computers. So that's what
oh,
I
and
did.
you accidentally pressed the wrong one. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Stan Rosenthal against trusting and strength.
Strength. There you go.
Man is born gentle and supple. At death, his body is brittle and hard. Living plants are tender and filled with life giving sap, but at their death, they are withered and dry. The stiff, the hard, and the brittle are harbingers of death. And gentleness and yielding are signs of that which lives. The warrior who is inflexible condemns himself to death, and the tree is easily broken, whichever refuses to yield. Thus the hard and brittle will surely fail, and the soft and supple will overcome.
Mm. Aleister Crowley, verse 76 from 1918, a warning against rigidity. Oh, and he uses that word versus using the word strength because, strength implies more things, right? Rigidity implies something different. All right,
Different
I'll
kind of
read.
strength too, right?
At the birth of man, he is elastic and weak. At his death, rigid and unyielding. This is the common law. Trees also, in their youth, are tender and supple, in their decay, hard and dry. So then, rigidity and hardness are the stigmata of death, elasticity and adaptability of life. Then he who putteth forth strength is not victorious, even as a strong tree filleth the embrace. Thus the hard and rigid have the inferior place, the soft and elastic the superior.
It's going to be a good one.
Yes, indeed.
So it looks like there's a lot of similarities here. So maybe we should go through and break the first part down
and see
Uh,
how they're similar as we go.
yeah, and then we
Yeah.
can take a whack at that. Okay, cool. La la la. I'm gonna have to listen to this song now. Okay, so we're gonna start up here with the Stephen Mitchell breakdown. Men are born soft and supple, dead they are stiff and hard. So he's just kind of giving you an idea of nature, right? He's showing you what's the natural world shows in the physical anyway. Plants are born tender and pliant, dead they are brittle and hard. So there's a kind of a
Brittle and dry.
brittle and dry. Yes, they are brittle and dry. So we're getting a little bit of similarities going on here.
Hmm.
Um, so you want to go? I guess we could
Oh,
do.
okay. Okay, that
Yeah.
one. Um, when a man is living, he is tender and fragile. When he dies, he is hard and stiff. It is the same with everything. The grass, the trees, the grass and trees in life are tender and delicate, but when they die, they become rigid and dry.
All right. Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory, and I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we can maybe when we get to Aleister Crowley, we'll maybe dive a little bit into like the maybe a deeper meaning for it.
okay, yeah, it makes sense. All right, Stan Rosenthal, pretty much the same thing. Man is born gentle and supple. At death, his body is brittle and hard. Living plants are tender and filled with life-giving sap, but at their death, they are withered and dry.
And Aleister Crowley says a warning against rigidity. At the birth of man, he is elastic and weak. At his death, rigid and unyielding. This is the common law. Trees also in their youth are tender and supple, in their decay, hard and dry. So, that first thing I mentioned when I first read through was the word rigidity versus the word strength used in the other verses. And rigidity, I think, implies more like not being able to yield, like unyielding, not being even a little flexible. It's it's rigid, right?
Non-adaptable, right?
Not
Not at
adaptable.
all like MacGyver,
Yeah.
right?
He MacGyvered his way out of that one.
Exactly. He's very unrigid, not rigid,
Yeah.
the opposite of rigid.
Yeah. He uses his surroundings to figure out what he's gonna do, you know? Um, but the word strength, which is fine to use, but it implies a um it doesn't have that negative connotation. It has more of a positive connotation of like, you know, um like strength of will, or you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know if you can explain it better than I can, but it doesn't have the negative connotation of rigidity.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think it's a different way to look at it because when we think of strength, we think of it as a good thing. When they think of strength, especially if you're looking internally and esoterically, what's strong? Your belief is strong. What, your belief in what you're knowing, that you know something is strong. The Tao is all about not knowing that. So if internally you're more about yielding to ideas and not being rigid and strong and being like, yes, I know this, there's going to be more of a flow. Now, yeah, you might know it and you might be right, but if you're willing to take it in and to look at it, then at least you have uh, a little more validation for your point or whatever for your worldview. So it's a good thing, and then to just openly throw it away just because there are some scary words.
Occulted.
Oh, Coltare. Whoa. Oh,
Hello,
Coltare.
everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Oversharon Show, brought to you by the word occultare, word of the day.
Where the hang on. Ah.
Um, so the that first line says, "At the birth of man, he is elastic and weak." The word "weak," like think of a baby, right? Like you try to like move them around and stuff. And they're just kind of a little bit floppy and stuff before they start gaining their strength, right?
Yeah, you have to hold their head. They can't even like
Hold their
support.
head
They're
and
like,
stuff. Yeah. So, but here weak, I don't think implies like it's a bad thing, right? In this, whereas like most people would think weak is a bad word.
a weak word.
Yeah. I just wanted to point that out that he used the word weak. That's interesting. Um,
Yeah, interesting. And oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I think they're pretty much repeating all of the same things in these four
Mhm.
verses, which leads me to believe that it's really simple,
It's a very simple verse.
really easy to translate, and it's telling me that it's just a simple message here that's like universal, which I feel like they're just trying to set you up for the second part of the verse, which we're going to get into, but they're just showing examples of nature, right? They're
Yeah,
like, listen,
exactly.
a newborn, this is how they are, soft and supple, weak and tender, and all these things, right?
Mhm.
So maybe that's how you should keep your worldview, soft and supple, weak and tender, Could
And
it be?
didn't Jesus say, be like little children?
I mean, it's everywhere, right? It's everywhere and nowhere at once. Depends where you're
Yeah.
looking.
And
So,
he says, this is the common law. Well, that
yeah,
makes me think of Mark Passio too.
yeah. It's the natural law. It's the way things are.
Common law, natural law.
Hmm.
PA.
PA. Local Tare. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah. Um,
We're making fun of Mark Passio, but in a good way. See?
yeah, no, he's
No, I'm
fine.
just saying, everybody, send this to him. Or clip it. It's a fun way. Yeah,
And
if
then
he
it
comes
says,
on our show, he could sing with us. I would make him sing if he came on the show. I bet he
I
would.
don't know that he would sing.
He would. No, I know. If we got Mark Passio to sing, I mean, we probably break the
That
internet.
would be epic.
That would new people think about
If you could make him laugh and sing,
think of all the despair that would be dispelled among the realm. Like just that clip of him. All right, let's dive into the verse. Let's not get
oh,
attached. Oh, were you done?
so
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna look at that last bit. Trees also in their youth are tender and supple, their decay hard and dry. Okay, we're good. So we can move on to the next half.
All right, second half. Okay. So pretty much all we said up till now with the all the four verses, now we could say, thus, whoever is still stiff and inflexible is a disciple of death. So, he's basically just saying, listen, in nature, everything that's old and dead is stiff and inflexible. So if you're stiff and inflexible, or anybody, whoever is, then they're emulating death. They're a disciple of death. They're all about death.
And it just makes me think of the previous verse 75, and the previous one before that, which is verse 76, where it's talking about being in 75, it's about like being not being afraid of death, but in the negative way. And then verse 74 was about not being afraid of death in the positive way, I think. Right.
Yes. Yeah.
So it just makes me think of that too.
Yeah. Exactly. Because is going to be a time when your body does get stiff and inflexible. Well, maybe if you live that long, you never know. And you don't just ascend to heaven like I probably will. I mean, look at me, right? I'm probably just going to get on top of
You're
a
going to
mountain and be like,
walk through a mirror like Saint Germain.
on the top of a mountain, be like, sorry guys, I gotta go. Me and my kitties, my wife, we're out. But yeah, if you do find yourself succumbing to old age and becoming stiff and inflexible, it's okay because death is just another door, right? So that's another meaning you could take out of this. Like, it's going to happen. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a natural thing. But he's just pointing out that, if
Yeah.
you're stiff and inflexible,
He's also
uh,
pointing out the spiritual, basically.
yeah. And
Mhm.
maybe if you're young and your body's stiff and inflexible, maybe you're headed toward an early death because of your behavior. Like it's another thing too. So,
Yeah. And if
well,
you're stiff and inflexible in your ideas,
yes, I was going to say exactly because we like to look
then
at everything esoterically in the inner. Then
yeah,
go ahead, Sharon. Yes. Then
then you're a disciple of these concepts of like spiritual death, perhaps,
yeah,
which
okay.
are not, I mean, that's I don't know. Can you say more about that? I'm drawing a blank right now.
Well, it's funny because it's verse 76, right? And it's 13 if you add it up. So the death card is
Holy
all about these
smokes.
spiritual deaths, and it's really just like the a rock bottom. You change your worldview. You just realize, holy shit, I almost OD'd. I'm gonna leave my kids fatherless. This like a story I've heard from one of my friends, and I gotta clean myself up. And he did, thank God.
Yeah, he
So
was being stiff and inflexible because he was like knowing that doing those things was keeping him in not a good place. He kept doing it. But then he hit that death, that rock bottom moment, death of an idea. And he's like, I can't do this anymore. I better clean this up.
exactly. So that's really what the spiritual death is all about. And then whoever is soft and yielding, and we're talking about worldviews here, especially, right, is a disciple of life. So now
Mm-hmm.
you're headed toward the truth and the life, and uh, the skies are going to be sunny. It doesn't mean that your life's all going to be roses and great. You're still going to probably have to go through hardships or whatever, but um, you're going to go through them in a different way, and perhaps you're going to learn from it.
Yeah,
Oh,
you can learn lessons through sorrow or you can learn them through joy, right? Is that?
yeah. Hmm. This is true. I just said that. It's funny you said that on the show the other day, and then I just brought it up the other day when I was driving with my lovely wife Elizabeth. She was
Aw.
talking about laughing. I'm like, yeah, that's you could people say you could look back. We're gonna look back and laugh on it. Why not laugh now?
Yeah.
Right?
Can we laugh now?
Yeah. Laugh now, cry later. the hard and
Oh,
the hard and stiff will be broken. The soft and supple will prevail. So it's like the tortoise and the hare almost kind of thing still. Because you're going to think hard and stiff is better. And this is any of my Wheel of Time fans out there. The Dragon Reborn Rand Althor. Rand Althor. I thought his name was Randall Thor the first time I listened to the book because it was the audiobook.
yeah.
Rand Althor. He goes through this because, for several set of circumstances, and he's like the one of the main characters, and he becomes really hard. He can't laugh or cry, and then he's got to overcome that and find joy again. And it's the same thing, man. Like, I tell that story so many times about this guy in boot camp who would get, you in Marine Corps boot camp, you get some time at the end of the day to like write letters and hang out, lift weights if you want. You could joke around because drill instructors are away, they go in their room or whatever, as long as you're not too loud. So we'd make, I mean, obviously, I'm just sitting there doing like a comedy show. That's just making fun of things, and this guy came over and he's like, you shouldn't laugh. You got to take this seriously. And I'm like, I don't know, man. So I was like, whatever. And then, cut to like a few weeks later, that guy like lost his mind and couldn't make it through boot camp and had to like, he tried to escape. So, maybe you do have to laugh at things.
Dude, that's sad when you
He
have
fucking
to.
broke. Sorry.
Well, the concept for me is you're trapped. You're like, how can you be so trapped? Why can't you just be like, look, I thought I knew what this was all about, and I know I signed a contract, but F you, I'm done. Like, I need out. Bye. Like, why do you have to sign a contract? You know what I mean? Like, why do you have to like be a slave? You know what I mean? That's creepy as hell. That's like zero freedom.
Yeah, that's what it's funny when people talk about signing like for a car loan or a house loan. They're like, oh, I feel like I'm signing my life away. I'm like, yeah, did you ever join the military? Because that's like signing your life away for real. For
That's dude, that's like making a deal with card number
15.
15.
Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah, it kind of
Start saying
is.
that. That's like making a deal with card number 15.
And if you think about it, a lot of people join the military for you get shelter and clothing and food.
GI Bill,
Yeah, everything's taken
free
care of, but
passes
then you
to
got to do
all the
everything they
national parks.
yeah. Oh yeah. But
You don't
then
have one?
no.
Dude, you need to get it.
I got to get on it.
You need to get it because you get access, free access for you and three other people
Ooh,
to any national park.
let's do it.
Zion National Park, probably Grand Canyon, all these national parks, you get free access. So
All
you don't
right.
have to pay the fee that goes. You just it's called the America the Beautiful Pass. Just look it up, America the
Mm.
Beautiful Pass. Joe showed
Oh,
his he even showed his expired military card and they gave him a free pass right there.
oh, sweet. I have my VA card. They probably would, but yeah, I might as well go do that thing too.
Yeah.
I already get free tickets to things. I saw Little Orphan Annie a few weeks ago now. I mean, it was just this past Saturday, but live at the Oakdale Theater. It was amazing. I mean, and it did inspire me because we came in, obviously we were a few minutes late because I married my perfect soulmate, so we definitely are always. But anyway, it wasn't bad. We and the kids were dancing, and we got to sit right near the front. But it's so inspiring because these kids are probably between like 7 and 9, I guess. I don't know, and they're just doing all these choreographed stuff, and like they're out there performing and doing their thing, and I like brought tears to my eyes. Like I was like,
It's a hard knock life.
yeah, that's what they were singing when we came in, or I mean, not when we came in, we were already in, because the way it works is you walk in, there's like this giant dome at the Oakdale, and sometimes they do things in there too, and they had like the vendors and stuff in their screens so you could see what's going on, and then you have to walk down to your seats. So as we were
I
in
always
that part, they started it. Yeah, go ahead.
I always think of Mini Me and Austin Powers singing. I mean,
Yeah, like
yeah,
dancing.
Mini Me singing "It's a Hard Knock Life." Oh my god, or dancing to "It's a Hard Knock Life" with Doctor Evil. Anyway, side rant, side
Yeah, super
discussion.
inspiring though to see people going for it. So I can't wait to get back on stages. It's like along there. I feel like this is a little stage, but anywho,
Anywho, where were we?
talking about the Dow, I think. I'm
Okay,
right.
so
Yes.
did you finish with that? Because I wanted to say some stuff there.
Yeah, I did. Go ahead.
All right, so what this makes me think of when it says the yielding and stuff, or being flexible or inflexible. I had this thought of the pendulum, and like even if it just made me think like, what if all these people out there, okay, so they're like maybe they're somewhere on that spectrum of the pendulum, right? And then they see things a certain way and they're like, oh no, shoot this way. At least I'm thinking, at least it shows that they're flexible in that way, right? So even the pendulum is working for good,
Or
for
the Dow.
God,
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, yeah,
for the Tao.
yeah. That's exactly. They're just being balanced, and the people who are hard and rigid are the ones that are the extremists. The
Yeah,
extremists on the.
yeah.
Um, and I feel like conspiracy theorists can fall into that category, especially if they're not careful. Like if you're into these things, like you just go on a deep dive inside and look into different personality type aspects, astrology, tarot, like whatever works for you, the Bible, just but look at it as an inner journey. You are the fool, right? You're the fool card. And I feel like if you do that, then you don't have to worry about this swinging pendulum and being labeled as an extremist or even being sucked down one of these conspiracy rabbit holes and then being ostracized by your community and people around you, and then it's harder to find a mate because then now you're like, oh, I got to find a wife that thinks the Earth's flat or whatever,
Believes the
like
same way I do. And
yeah. So or if you're already in a relationship, it could ruin it. I've seen that a bunch of times too. I mean, maybe those
yeah,
relationships fell apart because they were supposed to. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but
right.
what I mean is, it's all about the balance. Just see
Absolutely.
yourself as someone who sees more than other people, but you don't have to you don't have to do like act like you've been there before. Like if you score a touchdown, you don't have to do a dance. You'd be like, yeah, of course I was going to score a touchdown because I'm the man. I don't got to dance, like whatever, you know?
Right, right. We've been bowling and every once in a while I'll get a strike, and I'm like, oh, that was cool. but I'm like, I feel like as the more I do that, the more I like practice playing or practice bowling, I'm practicing non-attachment because, you know, I'm not close to good, and it's not like I've bowled my whole life either. So it's just I'm doing it more because Cody's been doing it more and um he wants to practice and get better. But I'm joining just for fun, and I'm not attached to like, oh, I have to win. I have to do better than him or her or that person or whatever. I'm just like, you know what? I'll aim and we'll see where it goes and whatever happens, happens. And um, it is what it is. And what's funny is I'm not fantastic at the scores, but I was looking like sometimes I'll take a picture because I'll have like along the score, I'll have like 33, 44, and then another one was like 44 and 55. Another one was like 66. It was like, it was funny. And I was looking at Cody's scores and other people that we played with my nephews and my brother-in-law, and their scores weren't even in the double digits. Like I
That's
was like,
crazy.
mine are always, I'm always hitting those. I don't know how. I'm not planning on it. I'm not trying,
That's
clearly.
hilarious. It's like just a sign. It's a sign for other people who are there, like, oh, talk to this lady. She's that are into that stuff. 33, 44. What's going on? That's so funny. It's
So I'm
another
like, it's
sign
meant to
too.
be.
Yeah, exactly. It's another sign that you're just
On the
going along and
journey.
doing the thing. That's a lot of people are like, what do these numbers mean? And it's like, well, you could just look at it as a way
You're
to
on your
not be.
path.
You're on your path, and ultimately, like, look at it as a way as you're not a victim, right?
Yeah.
You're not like, oh, I've got to sit here and bowl, and I don't even want to be here. It's like, no, I'm having a good time. We
Yeah.
bowling. We out here bowling.
Yeah.
All right. Dwight, the second part.
Yeah.
You got to fight for your right to Dwight.
Oh, you said something about some dude's name, and I thought of Garth Algar.
Would I say Garfield?
No, because you talked about that other guy from the show, and you're like, I always thought his name was this.
Oh
And
yeah.
for whatever reason,
Oh
I thought of Garth.
Oh yeah, Randall. I thought his name was Randall Thor, and it's Rand
Yeah.
Al Thor.
Yeah. So I thought of Algar.
It's like Brand Algar. Yeah.
All right. Where were we? Sorry.
No, no, no. I was because I clicked on the wrong thing. That's what I was making that noise. Go ahead. Here we go. Oh, we're on the second part of Dwight. We're just gonna start it.
Dwight. Oh, it's me. I forgot. I'm like here expecting you to
She's
read.
like, line? No, I'm just kidding.
It's funny because when I say words that have the word, I don't know, like I think with a W like Dwight, I end up like putting a space. I'm like, I'm more likely to say Dwight versus Dwight.
Oh, or like Dwayne. Yeah.
Yeah, I say it a little too slowly.
Dwight
Or
Goddard.
I find that I do. Dwight Goddard, beware of strength. When a man is living, he is tender and fragile. When he
Oh no,
dies, he
we're
is.
doing the second
Oh,
part.
sorry. Therefore,
No
thank you.
worries. No worries.
Therefore, those who are hard and stiff belong to death's domain, while the tender and weak belong to the realm of life. Well, I mean, with that, it just makes me think of like a realm, right? Like what uh I guess realm of consciousness are you in? Are you in this low realm of consciousness of being hard and stiff and not, you know, and holding on to all your attachments and all this stuff, right? Or are you in this realm of this higher consciousness realm of life, which I'm not saying, one is the same for everybody, but it could be different levels of it too. And I'm not saying it's necessarily terrible because we all have to go through that low, you know, hard and stiff realm because we're all, when we are born, we're all attached. We all come with our attachments. So, um, but the idea is, are you flexible in your mind about uh, those attachments, or are you stiffly attached to them? So I'll keep reading
Totally.
unless you have something to say.
I was gonna say, what was I gonna say? No, no. I think what you said is, yeah, perfect. Okay. Oh, I gotta
Yeah,
see.
and death's domain would just be like a low realm of consciousness. I'm
Oh, I remember what I was gonna say now. It reminds me of what I said earlier about being in two different realms, right? So what you said is perfect, but then add what I said, which is, you're right next to somebody who's in the different realm. You could see them, you can interact with them, but because all this stuff could it be that it's internal, and that's how it works. It's all internal. They're in a different internal realm space or whatever, which even leads them to see different things and perceive things differently in the quote unquote physical world out here, right?
mm-hmm.
So that's what we're talking about. You could be in either of these. Are you stiff and rigid? Are you soft and supple? Which one are you? Because that might be an indicator of what realm you're in. Now, you could be in different realms throughout the day. You can vacillate, I'm sure, between both. But I feel like the more that you do this, it's like a snowballing effect, and it starts to, first you start to notice your behavior, and then you get mad at yourself, and then you start to notice your behavior, and you let go of judgments, and you're not mad at yourself, and then your behavior just starts to fix itself. It's crazy. So, yeah.
And
Um,
speaking of being in the military, therefore, soldiers are most invincible when they will not conquer. Mm. You want to say anything about that? You old soldier, you?
yeah, the old soldier. This reminded me of an army, because when you see an army, you think the general's in charge, but it's not. The general is technically in charge, but really, if the army all got together and decided to overthrow that general and pick a new leader, who's going to stop them? So I feel like if you're an army, that is, what was it? What was the word that they used? Not conquer. So if you tell your boss that, no, I'm not going to go conquer these lands for you, right? Then you are more, what does it say? Invincible, I guess. The soldiers are more invincible, yeah, when they will not conquer. And also when you won't go conquer, like when you won't go out to conquer, you're not going to die as easily. If you're just a defensive army, you're going to be more invincible because you're fighting for like a higher principle in the standard of
Right, because
natural
you're
law or
being
whatever.
if someone's coming at you, you're being on the defensive,
Yeah,
right?
doesn't mean that you're always going to win. Obviously,
Right.
you can be overpowered, but you're more invincible. Think about like the Greeks when they held off the Persians or the Spartans. You know, a small group of Spartans at Thermopylae. This is Sparta. It's probably just
I'm glad you know about those things because I don't. I could never like memorize history. So to me, it's just like if I need to know it, I'll find out at some point.
exactly. It's just a story. They made a movie about it called 300.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
watching 300, but I
Okay.
went with like coworkers and it was more about like the action and the entertainment of the movie rather than knowing the fact or not the facts necessarily, but the storyline.
Yeah. Exactly. It's an entertaining. You don't have to know like everything. Of course, I got into it though back then.
Of course, of course. I'm not judging anybody
Full
that does. I'm
halls of
like,
it.
it's just I could never like I said before, when I was in history classes as a kid, I just could never memorize anything. It
Oh
was just
yeah, no, I totally get it. It's not for everybody. Um, all right,
where were we?
here.
Okay. When a tree is grown to its greatest strength, it is doomed. It's like allegedly when a tree is old, it's like near death,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
It's like getting closer to death. the more it ages. Like we humans, we people, we the people.
It's like a peak, right? Think of somebody who
Yeah.
peaks. It's like the peak of their strength is really when they're doomed, because from there it's all downhill, baby.
Downhill. And not in the not in the good way of downhill.
Oh, it could be.
Hmm.
Can't
Right?
live
Or
forever,
not.
but
Yes
yeah,
or
but as
no.
far as your strength though, it's not a good thing for it.
Yeah.
And your will.
I just mean like the word when people say I always thought this too because they're
Oh
like,
yeah,
oh, it's
when it's
all
all down.
downhill from here. And it's like, well, is that a good thing or a bad?
Yeah. Like, are you falling down a mountain though, tumbling? That's not.
Yeah. Or are you just saying, oh, it's the slope is down and it's good because now not you're not climbing and it's not like intense or whatever. Now it's just like free and easy walk down the hill, or are
Which
you like
is very
tumbling and
yeah.
go ahead.
But that's kind of misleading too, though, because downhill is I'm a very avid hiker,
Mhm.
but going
Oh, it
downhill
is.
is tough. It's like
It's
harder
so
on your muscles, I think. In
yes, on your
cardio, really, when
knees
you're
and
going
your
uphill,
yeah.
you get the cardio. So
Hmm.
it's all downhill, so you might not have to breathe this hard, but you might still have to work pretty hard.
Yeah, because landing on certain, I remember that too, like especially if the downhill's relatively steep and maybe there's rocks you can fall because you slide. Um, there's like sharp edges and sharp rocks that you could land on. And yeah, I know.
Or snow and ice this time of
Oh
year is
yeah,
part
if
of the
you're hiking
ride.
in snow, which I don't do very much of that. We
Yep.
did in Flagstaff last year, I think.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I love the snow. The snow. We had a flash snowstorm here yesterday. It was crazy. Came out of nowhere. It got dark, and then all of a sudden it was just stormy snow, like a thunderstorm rolling in, and then
Wow,
maybe 20 minutes later it just subsided. It was crazy, and then the sun came
that
back
is
out.
weird. Well, today, this morning, I didn't expect that, but it's overcast and it was rainy. And I'm like, where'd that come from? But I'm like, I'm glad it's good,
Yeah, the water
good thing.
in the desert. In the desert. Uh,
Um, the strong and the weak, sorry, the strong and the great stay below, the tender and weak rise above. Wow, that's a paradox right there, right?
yeah, because you would think if you were strong, you could
Rise
reach
above it
and
all.
rise above. But if you're strong and steadfast and stubborn in your worldview, then you're not going to rise. You're not going to raise your consciousness.
Wait,
Um,
sorry, say that again?
if you're stubborn in your worldview and you're strong and like steadfast and
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was thinking it backwards. See, because the word strength messes me up.
yeah, I know.
If they'd use the word rigid.
Yeah, no, you're right. But I think the reason they use strength is to kind
No,
of
that's fine. It's
make
fine. I
it think a
just
little, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It made me think because again, sometimes I have trouble with the paradoxes, the nors and the nots and the
It also
um
expands your definition of the word strength, which is nice. There really are, because so many disagreements and arguments come across because people are misunderstanding what they're saying. Like they might even agree about something, and I talk about this a lot. Well, if you have a better understanding of words, then that doesn't happen as much. And this is what it's doing, right? It's showing you the negative side of strength, just like the card strength.
right, right. And I like the paradox because we always like to look at things both ways. We Libra energy people. So the way I was looking at it at first, because this is how it came to me, was the strong and the great, as in like that's a good thing, right? That's you're strong, you're great. You stay below, and I was thinking like the roots of a tree, you know, they're strong and they keep you grounded, right? And stuff. But then I got confused because it said tender and weak rise above. And usually when someone's weak, it's not a good thing when you say someone's weak, right? And I was just like,
Yeah.
but how do they rise above? You know?
Yeah. And by the same token, what I was saying, now we are also expanding our definition of the word weak.
Mm-hmm.
Not always a bad thing. It's just a state that something's in, and sometimes it's more advantageous to be weak in certain situations, right? And that's what it's
Yeah.
shown us. But you would never think
And
that.
right. And instead of using the word flexible, which is still kind of a synonym for that. And yeah, because a tree's branches, they flex and they move around and in that they're weak, right? Because they're not like rigid. And so they can rise above it all,
Exactly.
and raise their consciousness.
Raise it up. All right, we can go down to Mr. Rosenthal. Mr. Rosenthal. The stiff and the hard and brittle are harbingers of death. So, same kind of thing that we've been saying. Gentleness and yielding are the signs of that which lives. The warrior who is inflexible condemns himself to death. So, I like this better. This is a better way to say it. No wonder. I mean, it's
Mm,
closer to our time. It's not, the 1919s, and it's
mm-hmm,
also the Stan Rosenthal air guy. Wordy, he's so wordy, and so he puts it
mm-hmm,
perfectly. So yeah, you have to be flexible if you are a warrior, because if not, you're gonna die.
mm-hmm.
Um, in the tree, and
Yeah.
I also like how they put condemns himself to death. So
Yeah,
there's no
because he did it to
victimness.
himself.
You did it
There's
to,
no victimy.
yeah. You should have been
Go
more
ahead.
flexible. In the tree is easily broken, whichever refuses to yield. Just like you were talking about, the weaker branches are the ones that sway in the wind. So
Mm-hmm.
you might not be able to climb those branches. So you'd be like, oh, those branches are weak. They'll break if I try to climb them. But when the hurricane comes, those branches are just fine.
Yeah, and then when the hurricane comes and the rigid ones, those can be what do they call them? Widow makers,
Yeah. Yeah. They fall down
right?
and land on you. Yeah. Not fun. Alrighty. Thus, the hard and brittle will surely fail, and the soft and
Fall.
oh yeah, surely. Oh yeah, fall. And the soft and supple will overcome.
But fall and fail is close enough, I think.
Yeah, will surely fall. I always think of will surely fail. Like it just seems to go. Yeah, it pretty much is just continuing this theme of different definitions of words, different way to look at words.
But they're all pretty much saying almost the same exact thing.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay, let's look at this Aleister guy. What's he have to say about this?
All right, so final verse, final half, and final version.
All right.
Um, Aleister Crowley's 76 from 1918, second half. So then rigidity and hardness are the stigmata of death. That makes me think of Jesus, not Jesus, of all those saints who get stigmata or whatever.
Yeah, what is that? It's a sign, right? The stigmata.
Mhm. Elasticity and adaptability are the stigmata of life because he's doing an ellipsis, is what you call that in grammar. He's omitting those words to make it shorter, but basically he's saying rigidity and hardness are the stigmata of death. Elasticity and adaptability are the stigmata of life. He then, who puts forth strength, is not victorious.
Mm.
And even as a strong tree, fills the embrace. So I guess like it makes me think of the redwood forest and the sequoias and stuff in Northern California. You can't even put your arms around. It takes like 10 people to put your arms around a tree, you know? Um, so he's comparing that to the person who puts forth strength not being victorious. Can you think of why? I'm trying to think of.
It reminds me of Are you talking about the tree part specifically, or somebody who goes forward?
Yeah, both. Like, because he's kind of making a comparison of like the person who puts forth strength is not victorious, kind of just like a strong tree fills the embrace. Like, even as a strong tree fills the embrace.
So I would say this. It reminds me of the earlier verse where it says, the generals have a saying. Or an earlier verse of the Tao, where it says the generals have a saying. It's better to wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, it's better to bet. If the generals have a saying, better than advancing an inch, it's better to retreat a yard or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, we
So
did that
yeah,
some
instead of
ago.
putting forth strength, because you're more like we are talking about, kind of taking a defensive posture,
Right.
right? And
Right.
you're not out there showing that
You're
you're the
not
best or
pushing.
whatever.
Yeah.
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 And then
Yeah, because you don't know, you know? It's like reminds me of that movie Ender's Game again, where he was like waiting to see what would happen. So he didn't want to be the one who decided first that they were going to attack.
exactly. And as far as the tree, I think it just goes because the tree that fills the embrace, whatever, it just means a big tree. And big trees are more likely to fall down when the storm comes. So it's the
I
same.
don't see the relation though with the why putting forth strength thing, but maybe someone in the chat can say
He
something
then
about
putteth
it.
forth strength. He then who putteth forth strength is not victorious, even as a strong tree filleth the embrace. So strength there
It's like
again.
he can't, even as like a man can't wrap his arms around a big tree. Maybe it's like, how do you know you can wrap your arms around a big tree? Maybe,
Um,
right?
yeah, I was kind of going with. I'm sure this. Okay, good. So he who putteth forth strength is not victorious, even as a strong tree. So strength filleth the
Okay.
embrace.
Even as your arms will try to reach
Yeah.
and to embrace a tree, and you can't because your arms don't wrap around that far.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah, he's not victorious in wrapping his arms around the tree. There, that's probably
Yeah.
what it
There we go.
is.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. So just as the same ways a strong person might try to wrap their arms around a huge tree, they're going to fail in the same way that an army that uses strength or puts forth strength.
Yeah.
All right. If anyone has any other different ways, comment below, share them, put them in the chat. We do these every Thursday. Thank you guys so much for hanging out in the chat all the way here to the end. We're getting there. You guys are the best. All right.
Last
Gonna,
one. Thus, the hard and rigid have the inferior place, the soft and elastic, the superior. And I think that's kind of self explanatory, right?
yeah, pretty much saying what they are saying the rest of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to be soft and supple, go to morelawsmoreproblems.com with your soft and supple fingers and click on that oversharing tab. Several ways to support us monetarily. And we always tell you the best way to support us is to come here every Thursday when we either are live or premiere these episodes. And hang out in the chat with us. We have a really long click out rate. It's like at least 20 like 30 minutes an episode is our average view per person, which is great. So we're so thankful for people. That means that there's a lot of people going through and going all the way to the end. So that's cool. I'm
Yeah,
excited,
it's cool.
because you're always gonna have people just click and go out, so that kills the average. But the overshare nights are the best.
I'm grateful for you all. Thank you.
Yeah, much love and much gratitude, and I'm really looking forward to covering some more literature for
Mm-hmm.
in the future. So make sure you subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, tell all your friends, share us around with people who you think that will resonate. And I don't know. We did everything, right? I think we
I think
did.
so.
Well, I did want to say really quickly though that this is verse 13 again. I mean verse 76. And the Aleister Crowley version came out in 1976. So
Oh, that's right. Even
it,
though it was posthumously published,
yeah, so
even though it
maybe
was written in 1918.
maybe there's some synchronicity with this verse that we could say for Aleister
Oh,
Crowley in his life and people who look at him in a way, maybe he was just being soft and supple and letting people say whatever they would about him.
yeah. I mean, he was doing whatever he meant he wanted to do this lifetime, and more power to him.
And now
You
he's
know,
just
it's
shining down from heaven. See, look, you know, look at Alistair
wherever
shine.
he's at, shout out, hello. We don't judge you, Aleister Crowley. You just a man just like everybody else. And people
Allegedly.
put you on a pedestal and people put you in the pit and, it just happens.
That's right. Oh well. What do we say to the good people, Sharon?
So once you start over Sharon,
Then you totally stop over Karen.
that's right. That's really
Yeah,
right.
that's really right. And remember, everybody, we're not trying to tell you how to live.
Well, I think we're just trying to tell you how we don't really know how all of this stuff works. So, we just philosophize and have a good time in here
That's right. We're just giving you the way we see things. It's the way we see it. So hope you
for
enjoyed
now,
it
right? Because,
for now.
we're trying to be flexible too, and we don't know what we're going to find out next time.
Yeah, by the time this episode comes out, we might be like, oh, I don't even agree with that.
I highly doubt that, but
Yeah, hey, you never know. All right,
you never
everybody.
know.
Yeah.
I'm not
Until
trying to
next
be
time.
inflexible.
Yeah, I know exactly. All right, everybody, take care. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Ciao.